This is Economy Watch, what you need to know about New Zealand's economic life today. Brought to you by interest.co.nz.
Kia ora, and welcome to Wednesday's Economy Watch, where we follow the economic events and trends that affect Aotearoa. I'm David Chaston, and this is the international edition from interest.co.nz, and today we lead with news that while we're all distracted by the culture war US election, in fact the world's economy was expanding well, except perhaps in China. But even they are still expanding, just not like they need. In the US, Red Book retail sales rose 4.8% last week from the same week a year ago, extending its positive run that started way back in August 2023. This is still not a sign of household financial stress. And US consumer inflation expectations for the year ahead edged down to 2.9% in October, a 4-year low, and dipping from 3% in each of the previous 4 months. All indications are that the US Fed has won its soft landing in its inflation flight. The NFIB Small Business Optimism Index rose in October to its highest in 3 months in a survey carried out prior to the election result. And the Real Clear Markets TIPP Economic Optimism Index, another measure of US consumer confidence, jumped in November to its highest in over 3 years. This was a survey carried out after the election result was known. But all this might change if today's trend of sharp rises in both benchmark interest rates and the US dollar continue. Certainly Wall Street is having second thoughts with a reversal that now puts it lower than election day. In Canada, the value of building consents surged in September to be 11.8% higher than the same month a year ago, rebounding from a drop in the previous month. Residential consents rose 7.5%, while the non-residential building consents rose 18%. In Japan, machine tool orders resumed their strong expansion in October after the September hesitation. They're up 9.3% from the same month a year ago and bolstered by strong export orders. In China, policymakers are trying to find the key to unlock real estate optimism. Their latest moves looks like it'll be to cut transfer taxes on housing sales from 3% to 1%. The hope is that people will sell and upgrade their residences. And of course it was Singles Day, Double 11, the big retail event in China this week, and it is going off without special notice in the Chinese media. Given that Beijing is looking to boost consumption, you might have thought it would be getting wall-to-wall coverage, but it isn't. However, despite that, it is still an economically significant sales event. And India's industrial production rose 3.1% in September from the same month a year ago, exceeding expectations of a 2.5% rise and rebounding from a 0.1% contraction in the previous month. While this is quite good, it is not back to the average rise of 2024, and even those increases don't really explain why their GDP is rising faster than 7%. India's expansion isn't really based on rising manufacturing prowess. And India is battling inflation, and inflation seems to be winning. In October, CPI inflation there came in at 6.2%, in a rising trend to its highest since August 2023. Worse, food price inflation rose 10.9% over the same period, and almost back to the level they had in 2019. Vegetable price inflation is running at 42%. Unless this is curbed, at some point this will cause social unrest. Although it has been negative for nearly 3 years, the Westpac Melbourne Institute Consumer Sentiment Index in Australia rose in November to its highest level in 2.5 years as the outlook for the economy and finances finally turned optimistic. And Australia's NAB Business Confidence Index climbed into positive territory in October 2024, the first positive reading in 3 months and reaching its highest level since January 2023. There were notable improvements across most industries except construction and retail. However, those surveyed said their business conditions were largely unchanged. The US Treasury 10-year yield is now just on 4.43% and up 8 basis points from this time yesterday. And the price of gold will start today at $2,599 an ounce and down $17 from yesterday. Oil prices are 50 US cents firmer at $68.50 a barrel in the US, while the international Brent price is now just on $72 a barrel. And the Kiwi dollar starts today at 59.2 US cents and down 40 basis points from yesterday as the US dollar rises everywhere. Against the Aussie, we're unchanged at 90.7 Australian cents, Against the euro, though, we've slipped 10 basis points to 55.9 euro cents. That all means our trade-weighted index starts today at just on 68.8 and down 10 basis points from yesterday. And the Bitcoin price starts today at $87,134 and up another 3.4% from this time yesterday. Volatility over the past 24 hours has been high at just on plus or minus 3.6%. You can find links to the articles mentioned today in our show notes, and you can get more news affecting the economy in New Zealand from interest.co.nz. Kia ora, I'm David Chaston, and we'll do this again tomorrow.